Hi everyone, welcome back to Genre Play over at Cabot Crossing. There's half the Cabot, the cat. This is where we play or talk about tabletop role-playing games. This show specifically, we talk about tabletop role-playing games. We're three game masters with different experiences with different kinds of games, and we like to talk about share tips, share tricks. We like to debate a little bit because we have differing opinions.
Yes, we do.
Might happen in this one.
Little friendly banter occasionally, and
yeah, for sure.
and Greg or Yagi.
Shit.
That's been there this whole time. What was that all about?
That's a
It's
character.
who I identify as now.
Okay. Better.
So what are we talking about today, Greg?
So I saw a video by Questing Beast, whom I watch sometimes, and he talked about a 3-round combat hack, I guess he called it. So I thought we could talk about it here. I can say from my own perspective, I think there's a lot of interesting things about it, and I find myself doing it without thinking about it for many battles that aren't major boss battles. So, in my opinion, especially in 5e, for most battles that are outside of boss battles, you know how it's going to go within the second or third round of combat, and you don't want to drag it on with all these different phases and stuff because that will really ruin your game if every battle is like a boss battle, right? Unless you have one of those games where, you know, it is a lot of role play and then you just have a rare, like, important battle sometimes, then that makes sense. But my thought on it was, I think it's okay to be like, hey, it's the third round. This is obviously going in a certain direction. So we're going to resolve it now. They're either going to run or you're going to make very clear, like it's very clear the players are losing badly. So a whole bunch of reinforcements show up for the bad guys. And it's like clear that, you know, you're not going to survive this if you keep fighting. Stuff like that. I thought that part of it was actually very valuable.
And just we encourage people to go check out the original video if you haven't yet. But just the basic idea, right? It's like on round 3, if the bad guys are losing, then you do a morale check to see if they run away. Or maybe
it didn't even say do a morale check. It was like a hard rule for
he was having this replace a morale check.
Okay, so it was straight up. They failed their morale check. They roll it and they run. Yeah, and or
they give up or whatever. Yeah,
or if they're winning, then he escalates. They get big advantages. Something happens where the monsters are definitely going. They're much more dangerous. I was a little unclear if he said like he would end it right away, or he was going to escalate and make the monsters get bonuses or something like that.
I think his point was you escalate it, and so it's clear without a doubt that the players will lose now, and that they should look for alternatives. Yeah.
So I hate everything about this, and for many reasons. This whole thing of like, okay, you're going to lose, so now we're stacking the deck. So I can see this being, you know, as a animated spell book, would say like, well, you know, now you're doing something else. It's called creating player resentment. Right. So it's like, well, we have decided that you're automatically going to fail. So now we're immediately stacking the deck against you and you have no chance. And these reinforcements wouldn't have been there, you know, as part of the story. You know, like you're not working against that ticking clock. No, you're automatically losing just because I said so.
Well, because they're not doing well in the first 2 rounds.
So, look, the problem, one of the fundamental issues I have with this is he straight up admits he's never tried it with the players losing. He doesn't know what will happen. I'll tell you what will happen. Players don't surrender. Right? Like we just don't. And like, you know, they are going to fight to the death. And I don't know anybody that off the top of my head that would be very happy with this experience. You know, in fact, I know a lot of people that like the idea of fighting back against a losing battle and pulling it through. Like that nail biting moment is why they're at the table.
I think it's very much a different mentality. Like 5e, everybody's trained to think it's a balanced fight, so they should always have a chance to win. Whereas OSR, which he's in his example, he's playing Dolmenwood. I'm not sure what he normally plays, but in that one, it's Dolmenwood, which is a new OSR game.
Yeah.
So it should, most OSR, like, it's not always balanced. You might have to retreat and stuff. So it's a little bit of a different mindset that may be affected.
Are you playing the survival? Are you playing power fantasy? Are you playing, like, all that matters? And I think that's kind of my point, is if we think, like, we can think of hypotheticals that could turn this really sour, and I agree with that, right? But if we think in the terms that we usually play, and when we do like 5e, let's say, which is more of a power fantasy most times,
they're all a power fantasy, really.
Probably not Call of Cthulhu.
Probably not. Yeah. I was waiting for that.
That's a sanity fantasy.
But yeah, if you're playing that type of game, most battles you are sort of meant to win, and that's a good thing, right? I think games I would get very depressed in the game if I was supposed to lose most battles, right? The fact is that most times you're going to know by the second or third round, just like how like you are to win. And 95% of the time, by that second or third round, the players are going to win. It's obvious the players are going to win. You're talking about cleanup at that point. And that's why I don't mind the idea of, like, okay, maybe don't do this strictly. But when it comes to the third round, a GM should have in their head, like, is this obvious? Is there any point to playing this out other than just wasting time with extra turns, right? I'm going to do something to make it so it ends faster. And what you do to make sure it ends faster should be what would have happened anyways, right? If it's uncertain, like, it's a struggle, but they're not losing completely. For some reason, our players have 5 characters with healing word, right? And they're just playing yo-yo or something, right? It's like, okay, you can't end it yet, because I wouldn't follow this at all in that case, because you're not sure, right? Like, his whole thing was, if third round you know one way, then you go that way, and when you're not sure, I was pretty unclear what you're supposed to do there. So if you're not sure, just keep it going, I would say, right?
Well,
but and then that 5% where they are losing bad, I think having reinforcements come, like, that's like super rare when players are doing so bad it's obvious, right? I think it wouldn't cause resentment, because it would be pretty rare.
Well, so for me, like, if I've been running a combat encounter with my guys, and like, and there's always one girl there, so it's the guys and girl. Let's be fair. Sorry, Amelia, we didn't forget about you. But like, when you've got your team, and like, you're coming down to like towards the end of the battle, and there's like 1 or 2 guys still fighting. They may be fighting at something that like say robots or undead or something, right? Who are never going to stop, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, or undead robots. That seem worse.
Yes. Transformers, undead, right? So like, at that point, it is okay to cutscene the ending, right? But like, if they're in a dungeon and those resources really matter, that one last hit that guy gets in could actually be significant to their survival. But even still, if you're just dragging it on and nobody's enjoying it, totally cutscene that thing. But like, for me, the idea that, like, like the combat encounter is one of the more enjoyable parts of the experience. And so what I kind of take away from this video is you're basically taking one of the most fun parts of the game, and you're like, okay, well, we're only going to spend 20 minutes on it, and now the rest of it is whatever else we're doing. Like, I would feel unbelievably cheated on that.
It's 2 more combat scenarios within that session rather than just
maybe. But but like, again, I don't really feel like, if we're just saying, okay, well, it's decided in the first 2 rounds and then we wrap it up, like, that's not. But if you let the combat just go, doing flowing naturally, it might not have gone so cleanly. It's just, and the other thing that I would also counter is that, like, there's also kind of a point on the part of the game master that might be flawed here, is that, like, monsters, an ecosystem of all these monsters, they're still going to be an analog to the ecosystem we have now, right? Like, real animals. And so, like, a monster that's deciding to fight the party if it's going to fight to the death, that's an extinct species waiting to happen, right? There's no way, right? And so unless there's thousands of them, like where they can afford to lose a few, the reality is they're just like a cougar or like a lion or any other, like, or a wolf or any other apex kind of predator. They're looking at you and they're making a threat assessment of like, how dangerous do I think that thing is? Do I have a good chance of killing it before I suffer so much damage that I'm vulnerable to the next predator over?
Kind of like if I'm hurt really bad in 10 seconds, then maybe I should back off or
maybe
continue to pursue.
12 seconds, you mean?
Perhaps. 12 seconds, sorry.
Perhaps, but like these animals, if they think they're losing, they will retreat. And the only reason why they would continue fighting to the death is they have something to protect, they're sick, they've been controlled and dominated by some other force, or they're backed into a corner and they have no escape.
Or rabies.
Well, I think what you said is the right way to go about it, which is if it's obvious, cutscene it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you ask the players what they want to do. Like, are they going to try to kill it anyway when it runs or things like that, right? Like, those are fine role-playing opportunities and stuff. Yeah. And I think the case where the players are losing bad, I'll still argue on this, where the players are losing very bad, and in most power fantasies, it's like the bad guy's got like 2 really good crits and knocks someone out, and there's like no chance now, and the problem is they're probably going to fight to the death. I actually do think it could be a good idea to do something to escalate the enemy, if it makes sense within the story, to escalate the threat of the enemy so that it's so clear that they actually do start thinking of different solutions, that they do think, oh, okay, actually, maybe I shouldn't fight. Because you said, in 5e, people do have this problem of just like, I'm supposed to fight. Battles are supposed to be balanced.
It's my biggest gripe about 5e sometimes is like, sometimes I like the combat's great, it works fine, but sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's like, we're an hour in and we got maybe another hour to go. and sometimes it drags, for me at least. And
if you find yourself that problem, go check out our episode on making combats more fun.
Yeah. So I can see from a design perspective why it would be tempting to do 3 rounds. I think one approach you could do is, because what's interesting is, like in Monster of the Week, there's a new book that just came out where they, normal Monster of the Week combat's pretty basic. There's only a couple of things you can row, and of course people want more or something. So he actually has 2 versions in this book where you zoom in and zoom out. And zoom in, there's like 12 different combat moves, so it's suddenly a lot more complex than D&D, really, and in some ways. And then zoom out is for big battles and stuff like that, so you can resolve things. And in some ways, when you think about when we talk about combat, narrative games some narrative games approach combat and non-combat as the same mechanic. Like D&D doesn't do the same mechanic. You don't treat a skill the same way you do fighting a monster. You don't go, I picked this luck. Oh my God, the luck hit me back. And now I'm going to do this. And we're whittling down our unlock points and stuff. It's resolved pretty quick.
It's all a D20.
It's either resolved like boom, 1 row, or it's resolved, or sometimes you have more complex skill check roles. I've seen some optional rules if you want to make it more dramatic for like lock picking or whatever. The door that won't open. So
I get what you're saying, but I am curious, Woody, what you think about escalating the like making it so it's obvious that maybe you should move into a role-playing opportunity rather than a fight to the death opportunity.
Well, if those situations were realistic, players would be doing it anyways. See, I was thinking about how, like, in an actual combat situation where, yes, there may be situations where the enemy will just slaughter you if you surrender, right? But in reality, people would surrender rather than dying. They would try to flee if they think they're losing. And the players in these games, there's a disconnect from it because your life isn't actually in danger, right? And if your character dies, whatever, we'll just make another one. So these guys, even in like a more of a hardcore game like 2nd edition AD&D, or Call of Cthulhu or something, you still have this balls out attitude, because you're like, let's go for it because we might actually win.
You have one magic missile, and yet you still go in like that. I don't understand.
Well, that's the thing is like, if your character dies, your character dies. You can just make another one, and if another one is going to be at the at party level, then you're not losing anything, right? So I think there's an inherent breakdown in the role
that
playing.
One hurt a bit.
Sorry, what was this?
I said that one hurt a bit. I mean, hopefully you like your character.
It depends how attached you are to your character.
Well, I'm giving you the analysis though. I mean, like I'm playing a character because I want to play the character. The character matters to me, but there is that disconnect, right? And I see it, right, all the time. In that the players are like, these guys like, let's just go, let's do it. They're like, they're there for that fun and that experience. They care about the story, but they also, that disconnect is still there, right? And so if this was their life, if this was the only character they ever get to play and the character dies and they're out of the game forever, you'd have a very different perspective on how they play the game. But you get to come back. So
that's why I think doing something to make it obvious that, hey, you're not going to win this. Maybe you shouldn't die.
And now you've taken away player agency.
Not necessarily.
No, you have.
It's signaling that you're losing, and you're probably gonna lose this fight, right?
And I don't get to make that choice for myself. So
I know. I think what Greg's trying to say, like what I face issues sometimes with 5e more than Call of Cthulhu, for example, is
a lot of people just always expect to die.
Yeah, they're always they treat it like closer to real life usually, because they just by reputation, even though it's not always that dangerous. I've struggled to kill people sometimes, but it's got a reputation. It in 5e, I think you just think you think you're going to win, and unless you get signaled really well that this is not winnable. And there's a disconnect. You don't see it. The words of the GM and the signals from the GM are the only thing that are going to clue you in on it. And I think like an escalation of whatever that would be, that could be like it takes a new form and suddenly grows larger or something. I don't know. It could be all sorts of things. Their new ultimate form, whatever.
I don't think that this is just a 5e thing at all.
No, it's a traditional. It's a lot. I've stuff. Palladium, sometimes some Rifts games.
Oh, like I said, any power fantasy. Any power fantasy game, which, like you said, is most of them. I think it would be a thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole point is there's a big bloat of hit points, which slows down the combat, which creates the feeling of I wish it didn't take so many rounds, which just creates the desire of could I crunch it down to 3 rounds or something to make it faster. If this isn't a big fight, I don't want it to eat up the majority of our session, right? So
and I think that there's so many things you could do to make combat go more efficiently and speed it up. Like when you have this entire toolbox of options, I don't know why I'm crossing my arms, and then and this is the one you go to of taking away their freedom and reduce them to you only get three rounds to win. And if you don't pull it off in that round, even though you would have won on the 4th round, it doesn't matter, or you could have pulled through a plan. I don't see it.
To be fair, I don't advocate what that guy's saying as a hard rule at all. Yeah. I do think that it's not a bad thing to have in your back of your mind that, hey, it's round 3. Is this obvious who's going to win at this point? And if it's the players, I think we can agree with, in most cases, you could probably cutscene the rest of it, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's the enemies that are going to win, I think is where we kind of disagree with, and that's fine. I think there's a lot of ways you could go about it, like you're saying. You don't have to be. I'm not saying like the hard rule is to bring in reinforcements. I think even the DM saying, "Hey guys, this looks bad," just step back. Hey guys, this looks bad, and then let them continue however they want, right?
But I don't think it's my place to say that.
I think you sometimes have to with certain games.
Well, okay, so
players can still die. You're not taking them out of combat. They could still just go off and do whatever they want, right? I'm not trying to take away their choice.
I think think like this: if they're a trained soldier knows whenever things are not going well. They don't sit there and go, it's going just fine. Everything's fine. They can see when the tide's turning against them. And so a trained warrior could be like, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this reminds me of this one battle that turned really bad and wiped out. You can turn it into a narrative trick with their background, even if you wanted to, and bring about their character's experience, making it more immersive for them to clue them in on this is not going well. And then if they want to continue, that's fine. But
we had an experience where in the Rifts RPG years ago, their drinking game, where we were doing the
you have to show the book. You have to show the book.
Yeah. Well, actually, we were playing in this book actually.
Oh yes, Africa.
Playing in Africa.
Horsemen.
Okay. Yeah, we were doing the Africa campaign where the 4 horsemen were running around, and so the party had managed to knock off 2 of them, not easily, and they had come upon the horsemen of war, and we didn't even have a full team. But they thought, hey, let's go for it. How hard is he, right? And I think they may have made it like 5 rounds tops, probably not even that much. And it became very clear to most of the players that they were going to die, and they had to find a way to get out of there. And then, but one of the guys just would not give up, and he's like, "We can take him." And they're literally dragging him away to save his life. But like that is symbolic for me. Like players, you're talking about a hardened warrior. These guys aren't warriors. These guys are playing an adventure game in the basement or at the kitchen table or something, or on Zoom. And it's
I'm talking about their characters being hardened warriors. That's different.
I understand that, but they're but it is people. These players are behind it, and ultimately, whether the character would recognize it or not, like if you've got a soldier or something, you go, hey, maybe you can, maybe you can point out like their perception of like you can certainly communicate the battle to. Like how you describe the battle could be biased in favor of the perceptions of a character like that, right? And then, communicate a particular perspective. Hey, these guys seem like they're really powerful and they're not that hurt, but it's like, and you guys are. And, maybe they'll take the hint, maybe they won't. But, these are players who are playing these characters in an adventure game. And in my experience, like the number of times players have retreated, I could probably count it on one hand, and I've run literally hundreds, if not 1,000 or more combat encounters with people.
That could be a story on its own, because my problem with 5e is it makes retreat hard, actually, which is quite annoying. I think it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be.
I don't think it's any harder than any other game.
But that might be true too.
Yeah,
but
it's a funny thing. I've been thinking about that 10,000 hours thing lately, where they say you have to put 10,000 hours in, like at the table to be really proficient, to have mastered something. And I was like,
combat 10,000 hours of combat.
no, not at all. But I was thinking of like, how many hours have I actually put in as a game master? And I was thinking about doing the math. I've done like 1,500 hours nearly just in the last 3 years. And I'm like, oh my God, am I like, at 30,000 hours? I mean, like, I just the thought of like that, goddamn.
Yeah. But I still like the idea of you can cutscene's not really the term I'd use. You can switch back and forth between role play and combat sometimes, to where like they might actually try talking. You're at the end of the round and they just start talking. And then you have a conversation and then combat can start back up, right? Or
because it's something that happens in fiction on time, but happens very rarely in 5e, right? Once they start fighting, they don't talk.
Yeah.
The guy goes like, here's my monologue. Nope. Attack you. I never find out anything.
But I don't think there's any reason you
quit shooting him. Get his conversation out.
Well, that is the problem. The players would be like, well, while he's talking, can I get behind him?
Right, exactly. I think that kind of thing actually comes down to like how the GM is running the game, right? Because if you're going to run it with more narrative based and more RP, and like have them have situations where they can have that tense conversation with the bad guy, and everybody's like kind of like puffing their chest up and trying to see whose penis is bigger. But like like you can have those moments, and those are super fun. But you also have to have players that are into that. And but if you don't create those moments where the players are going to expect it, where those relationships, that frenemy relationship can exist, right? like if you're not putting the effort in to make those moments happen narratively, and it's just a bunch of combat and obstacle courses and stuff, your players are never going to want to do it. They're just going to see the world as just a whole bunch of obstacles to overcome, and then let's go kick some ass.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever run into the problem where you come up with a puzzle? And this is going to seem way off topic, but it'll relate back. No. You come up with a puzzle that you expect your players to solve, and then when you get to the table, they struggle with it, and you realize that a hard puzzle for you is going to be impossible for players, and a mid puzzle is hard for players. An easy puzzle is a mid puzzle for players, and the reason is because you, as the GM, have perfect knowledge. The players have imperfect knowledge, and you don't think about that, right? When you actually present it to them. So
never
what?
That never happens with me.
Oh,
and the reason why is because when I was 13, I saw somebody do it wrong, where he had only one solution, would only accept that one solution, and if you couldn't find it, then the game never progresses past that point, right?
And yes, we've talked about this. They can change.
So I realized at that point, very early on, that any puzzle, a correctly performed puzzle, should be presented with just a set of circumstances and no solution.
I agree with you, and we've had an episode on that, but that's not my point, actually. My point is just the imperfect versus partial, the perfect information versus partial information gives two very different perspectives.
Especially when you have players who may not completely pay attention, right? Even the best players, sometimes they zone out for a minute.
I'm laughing at that one for a reason.
But my point is, in combat, that's also true. Yeah. You, as a GM, have a very good idea of how this fight's going. Mm-hmm. The players, however, often don't. They think that, well, I wouldn't have had the combat if it wasn't doable, which often true. They would think, they just they don't know how many hit points are left necessarily. They're not there thinking, well, should I think about this right now? I don't know. And so I think it's okay for the DM to be like, this is going badly. This guy still is very healthy. And then let them choose whatever they want to choose.
That's why I always do at least bloodied, right? Because I feel like that's a big help for players when you're
Well, see, again, this is like one of those topics I was actually just recently writing about in the book I'm working on, which maybe I can share that with you guys soon. But so the idea philosophically is that we have the game world that everybody's agreed on, right? But their portal to it is me, right? Or you guys, right? Any information comes from the game master, right? So if the player is interpreting this information incorrectly, then that's my fault, right? Because I didn't present it correctly, right? Or you've got somebody that's got some wiring is crossed. I've had people like this before where they take this much information and a normal person would say, it means this. And that guy's actually over here. And you have no effing idea how he came to those conclusions or where this information,
we call them conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know why you think that, because everybody else is over here and you're convincing everybody else to go that way, and you will get them to go that way because you're charismatic. But it's I don't understand it.
So what you're trying to say is, if you run into that case where it's not clear to them, the state of the battle, then that would be a failing on you conveying that to them.
There are ways to present things properly, miniatures and diagrams and having battle maps. Those things are very helpful for a combat situation, right? If the players see that they are absolutely surrounded, they're and they know that they're going to be overwhelmed, they're going to approach it very differently than if it's a stand-up fight against a reasonably even number of enemies, right? We had one where a battle had resolved, the guys were still freshly beat up, and then somebody does something really questionable, we shall say, and all of a sudden they're surrounded by ghosts that are wanting to feast on their life force. And they just immediately went from one encounter to another one back to back. And the guys immediately went into a defensive posture and but it's a puzzle, like you're talking about. The ghosts aren't just, I was using Mario ghosts, right? So they only come after you when your back is turned. So and they never got it.
Which is like the weeping angels on Hush.
Exactly. Nobody got it. It was so funny. And so the ghosts are surrounded and being all menacing. They're all all going all Raiders Lost Ark on them. and nobody catches on to the puzzle, and they approach it from a totally different. Okay, let's kill these two that are in our way, and then we just rush past that one that's blocking us, and we're going to run, and then that's how they solved it. And they didn't really get into the big fight.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail with the puzzle thing. That was just more of talking about perfect versus imperfect information. Yeah. But I think taking this video as an experiment is not bad. As an experiment and thought experiment to be just to make your combat more effective, and ask the question, do you have wasteful rounds effectively? Mm-hmm. Like, do you have a whole bunch of cleanup rounds that take 5 rounds where everyone's just like, I missed, I hit, I miss, I hit, I miss, okay, it's done. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're doing that and you already know the outcome, just cutscene it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from it, which is...
Yeah, I don't know. I think what I would do is something in between if I was an experiment, and it may work my way up to it. But I think for 5e or some other game where I was maybe facing that issue occasionally, I would take not maybe a boss battle, but a fight, and I would use the whole monster turning. I would use that as a prompt or trigger to do a morale check rather than wait for half of the enemies being destroyed or whatever. I don't think 5e even has morale check actually, but I just use it for Shadow Dark and stuff.
Well, there's no reason why you can't. I mean, you should always do that.
Yeah.
I think it actually is in the DMG.
Is it now? Okay. I could remember if 5 still had it or not, or if 5.5
I think it always was.
I think it's an optional rule or something. But
it's optional rule. Like thinking.
But that could be a trigger, right? To help you trigger it rather than wait for the other trigger, which we might miss if you're in the middle of the fight and you might not realize, half the enemies are gone or that one of the leaders are dead. You could then use that as a trigger for a morale check. And then if perhaps like in Nimble, the boss monsters and stuff, they have like escalating things they do, like based on how the combat's going. Maybe I would snip a little bit of that and be like, well, if they are winning, they're going to get brave and they're going to cast this powerful spell or something else. And then if that happens, that would trigger me to do that. There's some mechanics there, so I'm not just making it up on the fly, but maybe that'll shorten the fight, maybe.
Well, the guy in the video said that effectively. That was one of them too, is like have the boss be like, looked extra pumped, like happy he's doing well, and maybe look like he's about to be more aggressive or something like that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing well, I'm winning.
Yeah.
You just go like this.
Less like
that. Exactly. Well, see, and like for me, I find it frustrating that he's putting out this video on an idea that he hasn't even like examined well enough to find out if it's a good one. Like he's finding it compelling. It's interesting, but the only like examples he has are like kids
playing with his kids one time.
Yeah, exactly. Who aren't even like a good sample size, and
they're short.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't match like even remotely how people actually behave. It's kind of like that statistic that you only make it to level 7 and the campaign ends. I'm like, fuck you.
I don't even know if Dolman would really need it as much as 5e. Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at the book real in detail, but OSR usually you don't have as many hit points, so the combat doesn't last this long anyway.
Yeah,
usually. But I don't know.
I mean, there's a lesson here that you should never take a DM advice like video as a hardcore foolproof recipe on how to do something. This isn't the type of game that you could do that ever, really. So. It's I think there's good pieces of it that make me think of certain things, and I probably will now be more strict. Like, we've been in a couple of rounds. Is this obvious? Yes. Okay, then I'm going to maybe do something different.
It's good. It's good to stay aware of the rounds. Like I feel like 3, especially when you get to 5 rounds, and it's like you're still like everybody's got half hit points. I'm like, oh my god, this is getting long. So like, how can I do something here to jigger it up a little bit and shake it up? Maybe suddenly the wall collapses and start, making it a little more chaotic.
Now I gotta say, Greg, I probably should have brought this up at the start of this whole thing, but like I found this really interesting. This is another I can't believe you forgot this, that you at one point towards the end of our Star Wars campaign had admitted that you were doing this during every fight already. Like you're talking about this, and you're like one of the more.
But mine was very different.
Yeah. Except when I found out you were doing it, I'm like, son of a bitch. No wonder I thought it felt weird.
Yeah. In my case, I just like reduced hit points and up damage, right?
Yeah.
That was my way of doing that, which is apparently what a lot of people are doing in 5e now. I know Drakenheim does it. Everything just has a crap ton of damage now.
Well, I'll tell you, the fight that was the best in that entire campaign was the one on the Marks wasn't there yet for that, but the one in the warehouse where they had the epic crane, and then I was off, doing crowd.
You were defending against all these people,
yeah, preventing us from getting mobbed from behind while Chaz and Jeff were taking on the Darksider chick. I'm like, what a cool fight! I mean, oh my god! And that one we didn't have a time limit. We had a scenario. It was almost impossible to win, and we pulled it out. And you would never have something that epic and amazing doing I
agree. I said up front, this is not for boss fights. Period. If you want to have a good fight that has multiple levels and things going on, don't do this. This destroy that.
but I mean that was since as you guys know, I've had I've had this much GMing experience, this much playing experience, right? And that is one of my greatest experiences in my entire career playing RPGs was getting to be in that fight, Greg. So it's
oh wow,
so much fun. Oh my god.
That's why I still use miniatures with 3 different cameras.
Yes. But I mean, but even a regular fight that people can get into that's not technically a boss fight can be really epic and amazing. And if it, I think you're doing it a disservice. If
you make it a hard rule, yeah. Like I said, if you're not sure which way the fight's going, if it's not obvious one way or the other, and let's be fair, most of the time it's going to be obvious. If it's obvious, it's going to be obvious in favor of the players, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not obvious, then don't end it. Yeah. I mean, that creates tension. Yeah. I had one where we had a couple of people with Healing Word, I guess, and my character just got all the defenses, had shield, got crit through the shield. Then he cast mirror image, got crit, and hit the one image that wasn't mirror image and took me down, right? Mm-hmm. And then the battle ended up just being me still tanking because someone kept casting Healing Word on me over and over. Yeah. I went up 7 times in one round. I mean, in one fight. And it was epic and it was fine.
Yeah, I would say one thing I do sometimes, in my Curse of Strahd campaign, that would not play well with this rule is that there's a few times when I have tough fights and I hit them super hard, right at the first round, there's a Baba Yaga type character. Mm-hmm. And one of the characters was a barbarian and she's a little cocky, and I was just finger of death, boom. And I started that way, and then they're like, whoa. But I was I want them to be scared and intimidated here, and then we'll go. She used that spell slot now. She can't do that spell again. And now
they were fighting against John Wick.
No, the fictional Baba Yaga. Yes.
Yeah. Baba Yaga. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I've done that too. Never to a player though. I did it to a player's parent that was with them.
Yes, you
did.
Didn't
have NPCs.
Yes, you did.
They need NPCs. I got a Marvel Multiverse game where they asked me and I said sure, whatever. They have a Jimothy now with.
Hey, Mark, we are on the verge of having another short episode. We should probably wrap it up. I think
we should.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
With the end of Jimothy. Yes, YouTube, we're talking about Jimothy. You should spread this out on the algorithm. All right.
He lives he's in my city.
bring him.
No, I don't know him. he lives in Ballard.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
That's that raccoon that's got the spine.
He has a physical deformity.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that raccoon! Jesus Christ, my wife was showing me that.
And then a couple days later, we're looking and there's this video pops up of a dog with the exact same physical deformity.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of animals do.
Yeah.
It's just like that freaking monkey with the stuffed plushie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what. So in Marvel Multiverse, one of the characters has their own little pet Jimothy. So I can put it in danger. No,
you never do that, Marks.
I'm just teasing.
No. That is you never target their pets.
Oh, I would in Call of Cthulhu. Not Marvel Multiverse.
If I had done that, I'd be divorced right now.
Didn't you just take a Pet Cemetery, bring it back?
No, their pets have plot armor. Well,
I know. That's what I used to love playing Rangers because I like the animal companions, but then I always get really frustrated if the animals get injured and stuff, and then I wouldn't want to use the animal, and then I'm like, why do I even have the animal? This maybe is not the right class for me.
It's okay. 2024 got rid of that.
Yeah. Well, it's in Vox Machina in the cartoon. She almost never has that bear with her.
Yeah, Trinket. Yeah. I named her cat after that bear, actually.
All right, remember.
All right, episode. Let's wrap this up. So thanks everybody for watching. Check that video out. Let us know what you think about 3-round limits. How does combat go? Do you do any kind of home brewing to help make your combat more dynamic or shorter in some way? Or what game systems have you seen them do different things?
Yeah. So are you on Team Greg or Team Woody for this one?
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And until next time, enjoy your 3 rounds.
Fighting.
Yeah, keep fighting. Yeah.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky. But when they crash, it's a bang.